Hey, it's Mitch from PickDawgz.com here with Micah and Dave here with our weekly show talking about what it takes to become a professional sports bettor. Micah and Dave are professional sports bettors. I'm a professional sports bettor. We all do it a little differently and have our own way of doing it. And Micah and Dave's way is having a decided edge over the books. And, mine is probably a little bit more research intensive. Theirs is more reactionary at the time, but we're going to go into it. We're going to go from a high level here, and then in the future, we'll have more ways for you guys to dig deeper under the surface. That's what we were talking about before this. We learned that Dave is a YouTube square. He doesn't know how to share our videos on his Instagram, but he's learning how to do that. Dave, how's it going today?
Good, thanks. Yeah, I like that, and theirs is more reactionary. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is. It's that you see a lot. There's more than one ways to win at sports betting. We know that, and yours is reacting to the market. You're more like a stockbroker, and you say, I have a price here, and I'm going to do this, and we're going to go into it. And other people, it's more like I see a decided edge with something that happened on the field. They have their inside information, their late breaking information, this matchup, this offensive tackle in a college football game is injured, and that goes a long way too. Things of that nature. But with you guys, it's all about the numbers, and I'm excited to dig deeper into it than we did on last week's show. Micah, how's it going today?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, you guys, it's our show, so I don't have a choice to have you on. It's like we would have you anyway if we did have a choice, but it's the three of our show, so you're free to say what you will and not say what you don't want to say. But at the same time, we're glad to have you, and we appreciate your expertise in not just necessarily in the direct sports betting and strategy, but really the industry as a whole. As these guys both, and myself too, we have experiences inside the industry that the average person may or may not have had before. As far as it started with me with the offshores, not getting payouts when I hit on big bets on those pleasers where you're laying points instead of taking points. And what did I know? I was spent $20. I took 8 teams and it happened to hit one week for $18,000 and found out that they would only pay me $3,000 a month and bled me made me wait on it. And in this day and age, things are a little bit different. The competition is certainly there, and supposedly it's in the bettor's favor because of all the bonuses that people get, as well as the different odds breaks. And that's what, Mike and Dave are going to talk about with us today. So, Dave, we'll start with you. The big question that I have is that, given the environment that you have now, which has obviously changed a lot from when you started, because when you started, it was primarily Vegas, and now it's moved across. But anything you would have done a little bit differently than when you started? Because there is a bit of a cat and mouse game, and we're going to get into a little more into that. But anything that you could have done maybe a little differently when you started than the way you did it that maybe would have helped you a little bit more?
I probably would have left it open more on the value numbers instead of just having the mentality, well, I don't want to risk much here. But I didn't really understand 100% what was going on and how one number had a ton of value and the other one you were kind of surrendering some of your value if you played a middle or a scalp. So probably that.
Were the value numbers taught to you by another person, or is this something that you just learned over time?
Somebody else taught me, and then I obviously expanded on that. And yeah, so for example, let's say the whole market has 3 on something. I would have a plus half, and if I put like 5,000 down on plus 4.5, I would put like 4,000 on the -3. But I didn't. I should have. Looking back, I should have went more on just. Well, in theory, I should have just left everything open on the plus 4.5 if the going rate was 3 everywhere. But I didn't have the bankroll to really do that. So, but still, I should have put less on the part where I was surrendering some of the value, or if I had a -2.5 or a -2 in a basketball game and it was 3 everywhere, then that would be fine to match the whole 5,000 because you're not surrendering anything there because the going rate's 3 and the half point on to 2.5. offsets the juice because it's usually worth 9 cents or so. And -2 would have had an edge. So on that one number, I could have even went more than the 5,000 on the +4.5. So yeah, I was middling and scalping a lot.
So what Dave is saying here to everybody out there, and I'll Mitch it down for you, as they say, is kind of he was playing two different numbers here on the same game, but in reality, he had such a good number anyway. He didn't really need to do that. So he was more a little bit to the conservative side when he could have been playing just balls to the wall, getting full payout. So saying somewhat hedging might be a little bit overrated if you have the right number, right? Is that where we're at?
Yes, you summed it up. That's perfect.
Yeah, because I know that other of my competitors in here are, they do whole shows about, when you should hedge and not hedge. And I know, from what we talked about last week, there are a lot of situations where you think hedging is just, it's scared money. It's just a bad idea altogether. And that's something that you've learned over time. It just pays off more. How about you, Mike? Anything you would have done a little bit differently? Would you have avoided meeting guys like Dave, or would you just?
No, meeting David.
I'm kidding, of course. I'm just kidding. I'm trying to have fun. I'm trying to have some fun here.
Meeting somebody like David that thinks the way you do, 100% changed my outlook on sports betting in general. My main job now is how can I keep this account open long, right? What kind of strategy can I do to keep this account open long, so to help David and our business. But there's things as versus. I've even thought about maybe we should put in a square parlay. Maybe we open it up with this amount of money and take the $600 bonus. To look like, how can we look like a square in the beginning, knowing we have an edge? How can we keep this account open the longest, right? Things like that I did not do initially. We were just like, let's go. And then I didn't really understand limitations back then. I'm not going to get limited. That was my train of thought. And then Dave is like, yes, you are. And it's 100% what happened. So understanding how to, like you said, it's a cat and mouse game, how to deal with it and how to,
So from what you just said, though, it sounds like it's still a work in progress and an ongoing system where it's like you're still trying to figure out what's the best way to go about this. I obviously you want to draw as little attention to yourself as possible. Like me, I was banned from an offshore book, and I was betting second halves of small college basketball games. Right? That's where they didn't like it. They said our sports book is for recreational players, and people that are betting the size bets that you are on these type of games in this type of situation are not seen as recreational bettors. I don't know. Right. To me, I was betting college basketball second half totals. It's like, so what if it's on the small little teams that no one ever heard of? It just means that I did my homework, right? Or watch the game. So and the books, though, are more sophisticated now. They have more people working, more spread out, because they know they can get absolutely clobbered. And I think what I ran into when the books first started opening up in the U.S., because I was probably a little bit more in touch with that than you were from the other side of the business, not from the bettor side, but kind of like from the affiliate side and meeting with the books and things like this, is they came in. These books that had never really been sports books before. Companies like, the guys who were doing, we're not going to say anything specifically, but we'll just say the two big guys that were doing fantasy business before. They came in and they just thought, well, they're going to know us and we're going to do this and whatever. But you kind of thought, as you heard them, it's kind of like, these guys might not really know what they're doing in this business. So obviously there was probably some holes there, and they probably found that out in a hurry. So, one thing that we think about here, because it's, I always think of it that there's in casino games, in any kind of gambling whatsoever, you find that edge, and it's usually not illegal. It's just against company policy. And in the stock market, when I used to flip IPOs, it was the same thing. It wasn't illegal, but it was against company policy to sell the stock, right? Because they're supporting the stock. They gave you the stock. It's against company policy to actually take the profit that was sitting there on the table. We find it in card counting. We see it in real life. If you've ever seen real card counters, or we even see it in the movies. In casino, they open the door with the guy's head because he's got the wire, right? And is what you guys are doing. This is legal, right? It's just exploiting a weakness in the system, Dave. It's like you're just finding an edge where maybe they're a little sloppy or slow. Is that basically what's going on, or is it just the nature of the beast, and no matter what, this is going to happen?
Yeah, and then of course they're going to try to put up a roadblock, and part of your job as a professional is to get around the roadblock constantly. However, whatever that means, however you have to do it, you have to get around the restrictions. The restrictions are there, but it's like, okay, this is just part of what we have to go through.
Is there ever a warning? Is there ever a warning, or do they just come in and say, all right, that's it, you're out of here?
Well, you can kind of see your limit being cut slowly sometimes. You can see your bonuses all of a sudden restricted. You can kind of sense sometimes when things are going to get cut, 100%.
So at that point, when you start to see the writing on the wall, have you ever had a situation where they said, hey, we're not going to pay you on this, we're only going to give you your initial deposit back, and that's it? Because offshore that happened to me. I don't know if it would happen I've never had it happen to me with the regular U.S. books. Yeah. I'm not as experienced.
Yeah, we've had that happen. That's something too. You just have to. They call it the cost of doing business. So, got to take the L and move forward.
So, but there's no use fighting City Hall on that. It's just you just take it, you move on.
In Las Vegas, in Las Vegas, the gaming control board really has your back. You could literally get caught. Like, for example, you could sign up in your mom's name, get caught red-handed. Gaming control board will tell them, no, you got to pay still. You just got to pay. You took the bet, you got to pay. So they're on the player's side, but I've heard other places are not so friendly.
Yeah, I've been at the window where they basically wouldn't give him his chips and they wouldn't pay him, and it was a whole big thing, and they escorted him out, and then later on, I had heard that he had returned with the gaming control board and they paid him out. And that's basically how that worked, a similar situation to that. I just, it's tough to deal with these people because they can be intimidating, and they can act like they are members of the law, or the judge, the jury, the police department all at once. When the reality of it is that they just didn't like losing. And you beat them. It might not be the fair and square way that they want to get beat if they're going to lose, but you beat them, right? And this is the problem.
I got thrown out of the plaza. It was a long time ago over a slot or over a video poker situation. And they were like, we're not paying you. We don't care. We know what ticket you have. We're not paying you. I called the gaming control board, and the guy came in, and their attitude went from that to, okay, yeah, we'll pay you. Come on. So, yeah, they have your back all over the place in Vegas.
Well, the plaza paid you with my money because I've been slaughtered at the craps table there. I don't think I ever won once, so I'm more than welcome to play craps at the plaza anytime, I think. I got just crushed there one of those times. The only numbers that were hitting for me was my ATM password. I mean, it was just really that bad. It was just brutal. But yeah, Micah, how about you with this cat and mouse game? Any situations where they just didn't pay you at all, or took away tier credits or bonus points? Because now we have the brick and mortar casinos giving you tier credits, bonus points, levels of membership. For free parking, free valet parking, or dinner at one of their restaurants. Wherever the case may be.
I'd say the main frustration is we could have my good friend who is a consistent losing bettor, losing thousands of dollars per game, and his limit constantly gets raised, right? Where if you have a winning bettor and your limit gets cut to nothing. But the losing bettor, he's able to, as he's losing 1,000 per game, then they raise his limit to 5,000. He can max bet 5, max bet 10K per game, depending on what kind of market it is. That's a frustration. Is these losing bettors, they constantly raise their limit, and they're cutting the winning side off. But I get super frustrated. I get bent out of shape about it because I mean, if you have an edge, then how can you can't even bet it sometimes, And man, there's been multiple situations where I bet a lot of golf, and I'm betting like the top 5 market, and I have bets made for the top 10 market. And as soon as I'm betting the top 5, they know I'm going to the top 10 on the same bettors, and they take the whole market off the board. Stuff like that happens, and they'll put it up 30 minutes later with different odds. It's frustrating to deal with limitations.
When you see Mattress Mac make that $7 million bet on the Super Bowl, any thoughts at that point? Like,
I would have access to his account.
Yeah, I mean, because
gold mine.
They don't seem to have a problem with, with some of these bettors.
Right.
We see it all the time. I've been behind guys, in the line at the casino where they just have no problem. They show up with backpacks of money. Whatever the case may be. I've been with other guys in the line. I guess I've been in a lot of betting lines over the years, and where at $10,000 they can't even get it in on a game.
Yeah.
They won't even take the action on it. It's odd, that they do it that way, but because they always say the house just has their vig, and that's how they make their money, but. I guess we could safely say that the house does have a position if they care this much.
That's right. Yeah. It's frustrating, but it's like the world we live in. It's just part of it. Like David said, it's just part of it. It's just as hard to get bets down as it is to pick winners, in my opinion.
So are they getting you guys more often on a betting strategy, or is it a pattern? Or how exactly do you think they're identifying when are they going to catch on? I know you guys have done other videos where, you've gotten people thrown out. How fast can we get somebody thrown out of a sportsbook, right? And I think, there's a badge of honor to that. Of course, I remember the first time I got thrown out of an offshore, I thought it was, I was mad because, they gave me a hard time about the money. And it's like, those are the guys that you don't have the gaming control board. You're not going to fly down to Costa Rica or wherever the case may be. To take it up with these guys. These are not the people you want to take it up with, and that's okay, and that's the way they do business, and, so be it. You knew that going in. But, are they getting you on a pattern? Are they getting you by dollar amounts? Are they getting you just by, line moves? How do you think they're flagging you? Like, is there something that they're getting you on that you can't avoid doing?
It's a sliding scale to how big the company is, to the bet amount, to the sample size, if there can be a 3-way. So for example, if it's a super small company and you're going 5,000 a game and you've won 3 out of 5, you'll have heat. But if it's like one of the bigger ones and you're going 5,000, you won't have. Now they need a big sample size where you're up a certain percent to identify that you have the edge. So the bigger the company, the higher the tolerance. They would need a bigger sample size to see your percentage return. And if it's a small company, they're more likely to just ban you real quick and not even take the chance on you. That's what I've found.
Micah, anything different on that?
I agree with that. I can tell you, I almost want to say the name. I can't stand them. I can't stand them that bad. But there's one of the legal.
What does it rhyme with? What does it rhyme with?
Car. Rhymes with car. But anyways, we made some overnight soccer bets, and they made some lower league soccer bets. The bet goes through for 12 hours. The bet's the next day. The games will start to the next day, and we wake up the next morning. After the game goes final, we get an email saying we didn't like the bet size of this bet. It was too much of a risk tolerance to us.
But they said this after the game was over, right?
Wager, the game is over. Then they changed our $1,000 bet to $200 because we. So
if you win, if you lose, then it's okay, and they wouldn't have said anything. But you win, and then they say, "See, here's the problem." Right? Here's the problem. This is the problem. This was like with me when the offshore that I dealt with, when I hit that $20 bet that hit for $17,000. This is before I ever had betting, for things. I was a recreational bettor at the time,
Right.
and they didn't say anything about me only being able to get $3,000 out a month. Until that happened. And it's like, I don't know if they expected me to continue to bet there or what was going to happen, but I wouldn't place a bet until they paid me out. And I don't think I've ever bet there since. But so what happens in that case? Do they give you a phone call? They send you the email? Do they?
Got an email saying they just didn't like the risk of. We're talking a $900 wager that got reduced to 200 12 hours later. As the match.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
Should be a huge story right here. This should be all over the news.
It should be all over the news. Was this in the customer agreement? Now, we all have signed some customer agreements that we don't know what we signed. I have a legal team for all my stuff that I do, and it's like I can't even tell you how much cheaper it is to have all of my stuff read ahead of time, as expensive as that is, as opposed to having it read after the fact. But I'm going to guess there's something in there, kind of like with brokerage firms, where they could say we can do whatever we want. And but why isn't this publicized more that these guys did this?
This should be a huge story.
That was his other
friend. Yeah, this should be all over.
Well, maybe we'll make it. Maybe we'll make it a case, and if we have the documentation to show.
I have documentation. We can do it.
Well, maybe we.
Do you have the screenshot and the email and everything where you could line it all up?
Everything's lined
well,
up.
Hold on. The only reason he wouldn't want to do it is the name can still take higher limits, and he doesn't want to piss them off. Or is the name cut already?
Oh, done. No, that name's cut. Yeah.
Then why aren't we blowing this up all? And then they stole. And then they. I earned a car rightfully, right? I earned their million points. So they said we're not giving it to you. After I did all the commitments, and they said we're not going to give it to you.
Be more descriptive about what happened, David.
Well, here's the difference between this show and all those other sports betting shows that you see out there from all my competitors, okay? None of them have real stories like this to share with you. Not one of them. They might talk about how they won some contest at some book or something like that, and these guys have won more than their share of contests and, poker games and all this other stuff as well. But these are real sportsbook stories of clocking them on bets and then not getting paid out. And in this case, $900 not even being honored on a soccer bet. That's especially after the fact.
I had to go finish my points on a minus EV video poker game. I don't remember how I did, but I had to do something minus EV just to finish my points, and they still flipped me the bird and said, we're not giving it to you. But I do have a big plan for revenge. Hopefully no one in the watches this. I have revenge is coming. I have something I'm doing. So I'm getting my car.
Hopefully it's a glitter bomb, stink bomb. If you've ever seen those videos, that's how I would do it.
They took me out of one car. I'm getting 3 cars. I'm charging interest. I got a plan. Well, actually, I've already done the plan. I already earned it. I already earned it in a situation. Revenge is coming. I will be rolling in that car on video. I'll do one of those from the car that they give me.
Most people know out there, I'm the king of revenge. I'm a name caller. I'm all those things, and so Dave, you have to understand the logic from the general public is, this is the way people think these days. If you call people out on screwing you, if you call them names or if you get revenge on them screwing you, that makes you the bad guy and exonerates them from everything they've ever done. Okay, because I'm a name caller. I call people steal from me. I call them a thief. I call them a liar. I call them, a lot of other things on top of that. And because I do that, that exonerates them, makes their stealing and everything okay, and I'm the bad guy because I'm a name caller. So this is the risk that you're on. I'm loving that you're willing to take that. I guess you don't have the public presence yet, but you will. And this is exciting stuff. I'm excited to see how it all plays out, and I'm also excited to see exposing this other sports book and showing how they do business and see how because then at that point, once you call them out and it gets enough notoriety, they will have no choice but to answer. Because
but for his situation, I mean, he's got to come through with like screenshots of bets. It's almost
Sounds like he's
if you
got
tell-
him. It sounds like he's got him.
But if you tell a pro bettor that story, their very first thought is, okay, I don't believe it. Me getting screwed for the car, they would believe that, and we already showed all the screenshots and everything. But if someone said that they lowered it 900 after it was final, I just wouldn't believe it if I didn't see this. I wouldn't believe the story. So you have to show on that one. You have to show evidence.
I mean, the worst thing that's ever happened to me is, they changed the score in a game overnight. That was the USC-Utah game. I had Utah in the points. I didn't cash my ticket. I woke up in the morning. They changed the score of the game, and I couldn't cash my ticket. They got me on it. That happened. But in this case, they changed your bet after it was graded. So all the timestamps, everything adds up to everything was done after the game was already over, because that to me seems illegal on their side, that they're altering the bet because they're saying if you lose, we'll take your money, but if you win, we're not going to pay you. I mean, why would anyone bet with this company anymore?
You know, when you initially put in a bet at most of these companies, and if they don't want the bet, it gets sent to trading, right? And then they'll say, okay, we'll accept this amount. But they accepted the $900
So
click.
you spoke to them on the phone, or it was all email communication?
We were in the process of betting. We were betting 30 soccer games a night.
Oh, no, I understand. But after the fact, after the bet was canceled, the communication.
We've done a post on it. I don't think anybody said anything. It was a few months back we did it. I have to go back and look.
Well, maybe we'll have to bring it up again over here at PickDawgz, where we have our 80 million viewers and the Google and YouTube algorithms working in our favor. And we also have relationships with a lot of these sports books, which will probably be destroyed by exposing this. And we're willing to risk that because we don't really like most of them all that much. They haven't treated me all that well either.
I should be in a Mercedes SUV this year, and I'm not. So revenge is coming. And you should be getting $900 times however many bets that was. So, no, unacceptable.
Yeah, I just this is really what I wanted this episode to be about, was kind of like the legality of being a professional sports bettor and finding these loopholes, because you're not doing anything illegal. All you're doing is finding their own problem. You're doing them a favor. You're doing them a favor by helping them identify their weakness. This is kind of like what Mark Zuckerberg did when he founded Facebook, and he took the Harvard, directory. He cracked their system. He hacked into Harvard's, computer system. And he said, you guys have a security problem here because I've hacked into here, no problem, and I've gotten all this stuff. You guys haven't even done that. You haven't hacked any systems. You haven't done any of this. You've done something where here's the stuff right in front of me. Okay, then this is what I'm going to do. A lot of times I've had bets voided before the game where it's just a misprint. You get a misprint on the online thing. It's a misprint when you make the bet. You make the bet anyway, and then they come back and just void it. But I never have had one voided after the game.
Yeah, we're talking 12 hours later after the bet was submitted. Got an email.
It's unbelievable, because if you were at a brick and mortar and you went to go cash the ticket, they would have to cash it.
Yeah. I'll send you a screenshot when we get off this.
Does this sportsbook have brick and mortar locations where you could have been issued a ticket on this bet?
They have one in Blackhawk, I think.
All right. Well, we'll have to find out exactly who these people are, and we'll go on the journey with you here, because I think this is a story that needs to be told, and I think more and more bettors need to know what they're up against, because I think that the majority of bettors out there, and I think you guys know this, and you guys aren't the average bettor. You're not, Dave, as square as you are on YouTube, you're not a square bettor. And Micah, you're not a square bettor, as much as you like to sweat out games, as we found out on our last episode. But the thing is that most people out there don't win. Most of the time, these guys are constantly reloading these accounts. And eventually, they're hoping that they're going to hit one of these lottery ticket parlays and maybe get somewhat close to even. But if what they're going to find out is that when you hit this lottery ticket parlay and the book's not going to pay you, then why am I feeding them all this money in the first place?
Yeah.
Because there are other options, because the reputable books, like I'm going to guess, Dave, that the Circa and the Westgate have always paid you on every bet you've ever made.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I love both those books. Just as a sports bettor, I just feel like, I'm always getting an honest deal there from them. They always treat you respectfully, win or lose. And, they never, I don't think that they give preference to the big bettor over the $5 bettor, because I know other people I go there with sometimes, they're not big bettors at all, and they get pretty good treatment from those people there too. I think that's just the way that they are, and that's the personality of the people that are there. But I've never heard of not getting paid on a bet. I've only been heard of slow paid, and that's that happened to me with an offshore. But I always thought that, and the thing that I've always preached to my people when saying why we switched to U.S. books, to working with U.S. books as far as on the affiliate level, and when I tell people about shopping, I'm a big proponent of line shopping in general for the regular bettor. Right? I explained to them that a 10-cent line differential, if you're a $20 bettor, a 10-cent line differential on 3 bets a day on baseball. If you do this 365 days a year, 10-cent line differential on money line bets, three times a day on $20 bets, it's like $2,700 a year or something you leave on the table by not having multiple apps and finding a better line. But it's like, if the U.S. books aren't going to pay you when you win, then screw them. I'm not going to sit there and advocate them in my videos.
Oh, that's such a rare story that they're going to pay you. That was just...
and this was I was probably the only bet in their whole system on this one match.
Then why did they offer it?
I agree. I mean, any kind of big market sport, they're paying you. They have to.
I look at some of the books that I use. They have some weird stuff. I mean, especially during the pandemic, snooker and darts and all kinds. I don't know anything about any of that stuff. They had some of the offshores were taking action on video games, like video version Madden, simulated Madden games in the snow and stuff. It's like, try handicapping that stuff.
You're funny, man.
But this is my audience. We have the degenerate gamblers, and we have people that are trying to become better bettors, and we have people that are just action players. We accept all kinds at PickDawgz, and that's kind of why we have our PickDawgz family, and why I believe our channel is so much more popular than all of the other channels combined, is because they're looking for that 10% of what I call them, Dave, is the sharp chasers. They're not sharps. They're just chasing what they believe to be sharp action, right? So they're not sharp bettors. More than likely, these guys have missed the line move. They've missed it, but they're moving because they see the line move. They just jump on it every time they see that. Every time they see an imbalance in, bets and money and a line move, they make the move. But it's sort of like in the stock market, I believe a lot of the time, buy the rumor, sell the news. And it's like, that's the news. You might have missed it already. I think, not in all cases, but I believe it is in a lot of cases. In some cases, I try and advocate it because one of my competitors that sells that information. So anything I can do to discredit them, I'm in favor of.
Yeah. I think Dave is a big proponent of fading the overmove sometimes, like in the NBA game last night, correct?
Yeah, no, that's I've done that for 20 years, and if you can, and especially if you can make your own line at the beginning, and then you're going, what the heck is going on here? Yeah, you just don't.
So what we're talking about is, because this video could be shown by someone a year from now, but what happened last night was the game, the Phoenix Suns game. I'm going to guess you're talking about. The line moved from like 3.5 down to 1 by game time. It was in the 1. I even saw some zeros out there.
Yeah.
So let me just go back. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, it was just a random move by the public or somebody overplaying whatever their system said, and it was a good spot.
Well, here's one of the questions that I have for you while we're on this subject.
That was my biggest pregame bet of the year. I bet 42,000 on it. I went 5 on one of the Vegas apps, 15 on the Circa Colorado, and then I went 20 on the offshores right here.
On Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, at first I had minus 128. That was my first bet or whatever, and then I was like, damn, I got to keep going because I keep going. If it keeps moving, sometimes I get really like I put too much on it to be comfortable watching it. I'll be honest, but I have to keep going if I have a perceived.
Is
If
that
my
why
perceived
Micah
bet,
is Micah the designated watcher when it gets to be that dicey?
he loves. His kids are all over him, Dad, Dad, and he's like, hold on, in the timeout. He loves that.
Hold on, I'm sweating this one out. It's like, I'll tell you, I think a lot of money line bettors on the Sixers sweated out yesterday when Marcus Smart hit that shot at the buzzer. Obviously, it didn't count. And I think, it's all part of sports betting. We've talked about this in the past, and we'll talk about it plenty in the future. But I think these are some interesting topics that we're on, and I just think that these are, subjects that more of this type of stuff that we're going to cover on this show. But as you can see, with these guys and, it's just a little bit of a different thing because, number one, there's a little bit of a cat and mouse game between them and the books, and that's something that initially it's something they're still working on. It's a game that's going to be evolving. There's always going to be the cat. There's always going to be the mouse. There's going to be things that the cat picks up on, and there's going to be the mouse always seems to – and whenever there's been a system or a security system or anything like that, there's always been someone that's been able to figure it out, on the other side, and these guys are just, the best at doing that. And, I just think that, the books, claimed they claim to be high and mighty. I have a lot of, things with other customer service, even with my bank, where this is our policy, and that's the explanation that you get. It doesn't mean it's okay, because if the shoe's going on the other foot, the problem that you have there is they have your money, is they have your money. So you have little recourse. It's not like they're trying to collect it from you. And if it is that case, they'd put you in collections. They have probably a legal team that makes it not worth it to fight it. It just seems that this is still, it just goes to show you that this is still very much a very new market. We're still very much in the first inning of U.S. sports betting. And it's going to be something that's going to evolve over time. I think as more states open up, I think, maybe Dave ends up in Texas or something over time, or California.
No.
No?
No, I don't want to see that. No, I'm getting too cool in my later years. No.
Well, we'll have to see what the openings are that are available. You might be able to change your mind.
When California does it, I know how they are. They like to run their own show, and they don't want outside companies. And at the Indian reservations, I think that's a good spot. I think they'll put huge limits. I think they'll try to do it themselves without outside company. And I think California will be good. Like the Southern California places, like Verona and Valley View. Rincon. I mean, I guess they would use Harrah's, or they would use Caesars. But there's so many in Southern California that they would have their own. I think
they used in Arizona they went through the Indian reservations, but each book affiliated themselves with an Indian reservation is the way that they did it, or with a location. So there's a bunch of different ways of doing it. I still think this thing is very, very early in the process, and they're going to figure it out.
Those places in Southern California are just so loaded. I mean, I think they're going to try it themselves. That's my prediction.
I thought the same thing with Bet365 when they came over to the United States, that they had so much money that they were just going to walk over these U.S. books, and they still might. But, right now, it just seems that the U.S. books, the guys who were the former fantasy players, I'll say their names, DraftKings and FanDuel, they appear to have at least the market edge, and are taking the bulk of the action from the U.S. bettors. Some of these other books maybe figuring out that maybe this wasn't the best spot for them, at least not right now. The guys like PointsBet who are looking to get out of the business at this point. And then there's some other guys that are kind of hanging in there. That we'll see what's going on.
We just need a couple of those places with super deep pockets to have their own lines. That's all we need, and then their tolerance the first couple of years will be really high. And so we could just kind of over them the first couple of years, and then it will be.
They're going to happen, Dave. But unfortunately, that a lot of times that the guys who run places like that are really not the type of guys you want to be involved in big money transactions with.
I, I've been dealing with those places in Southern California for about 20 years, and I know how they think. I know how they run it. You can make a lot at first. You have to tackle it at the beginning, though. That's the key. So we'll see.
We'll see how it all plays out. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I'm excited to talk more about this business and how betting professionally works, and guys that do it. There's different ways to do it. I think Dave and Micah have an interesting system here, and I think the bottom line, and really I was trying to go where I originally started with this, and I think next show we're going to try and I think get more into a little more nuts and bolts. Dave tried to go down there at the beginning. I pulled him out of it. He was talking about the key numbers and started really getting he went down the rabbit hole. We pulled him out, and we'll get him. We'll let him go. The next time we're just going to let him go down there. But
I'm on a leash.
Well, we had to pull you out because we're only on episode 2. We don't want to go over people's heads yet. And I think people will be excited to hear this. As the more they hear this different information, the things that we're sharing, they're gonna be more excited to hear about these key numbers and how you kind of determine this and where exactly you're going, and this 2.5 to 4, and why you're not hedging, because some of our competitors are so. One of my competitors, who I can't stand these guys, because I know they're not. I know they're just fakes. I know they're fakes. They're not even like, they're just. I don't even think they're really betting games. And it's like because I see what their picks are on the site, and they have like 30 and 40 picks on a day. It's like very, very hard to do. And I'm not talking like a college football Saturday. I'm talking about like yesterday. Not 40 bets. I'm talking about 40 separate picks that they're playing on just a regular Sunday card. I just find it hard to believe that these guys are the guys that I want to take strategy advice from. But they're talking about hedging strategies and things like that. And I think it's more important here. I think and one of the strategies that I've used over the years, and it's like people always look at my record and they're like, man, you don't have a very good record, but man, you always are plus money. And that's because I always find the value. And it's like I don't hedge out. I am aggressive where I buy my spots to be aggressive, but I think you guys have even a better way to be aggressive, and I'm excited to hear about it, where you just say, I could hedge out, but why would I? And we do that a lot in our halftime shows where we say, man, we could hedge out easily right here. We can catch both sides. We can do all this stuff, but it's like, you know what? I'm going to ride this one till the wheels fall off because I love this thing. And, it'll probably be fun to have you guys on some of that stuff too. I know you guys are busy during NFL Sundays and college football Saturdays, but maybe we can drag you away for 5 minutes one of those days too when that time comes.
It's hard for me to get it. This is hard, but yeah, in the morning or something, or at night.
Yeah, well, we're gonna ask. This is what we do.
or I'll go like this. I'll just go, yeah, no. Yeah, what was that? If you
it's
don't
okay.
mind,
We'll just show up at your door with. It's all right. We'll be rolling live from your door.
There've been drones at my window, like just hovering. I don't know what the hell they were doing, but they were. True story. They were just hovering right there, right here at the window. Right there. It was just right there.
That's weird.
Yeah, my cousin started freaking out. What the hell? Like she was like visibly shooken up, and then I looked, and then they went back. They went back out.
It's like the helicopters in Goodfellas, minus the cocaine deal.
Minus the cocaine. Oh shit.
Well, on that note, thanks everyone for joining us. It's been another fun show. We tried to do it around a half hour. We ran over about 15 minutes. Everyone knows that's how I do things. Dave, once again, pleasure. Thanks for doing these shows with us. I know my audience appreciates it, and now they're your audience as well. Micah, same with you. I know you have plenty more stories to tell, and I believe next week's show, as we start to dig into some of the nuts and bolts, we're not going to go over the top with it. But we are going to go a little bit into a deeper dive into some more specific strategy as opposed to these high-level looks, which we've been trying to do, because I think it's important to set that base, that foundation, because you have to. I want everyone to be better bettors. And we're gonna, we'll have opportunities for you guys to actually, learn some real strategy and to set yourself up to become, professional or semi-professional, or maybe a side hustle, with betting, like real betting for money, like winning money, not just throwing darts, which is what we want you to avoid. Anyways, Micah, pleasure. Dave, you guys in for next show, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right. Every even Saturday, I'll go like.
Dave's like, you'd have to pry me out of the seat. Thanks everyone for joining us again. Let's crush the books together. We got Dave and Micah. They're going to be with us every single week, giving you guys strategy and then some, and some great stories as well. So thank you guys again. We'll see everybody next episode.